Thank you to all my channel members, including my fan appreciation level members and my contributor level members, for helping support the YouTube channel.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book, Star Wars Riptide by Paul S Kemp. This is one of his Star Wars books. It is the sequel to the novel Crosscurrent. I reviewed this last month. That review is up on the channel. I really enjoyed this book. So I was excited to get into to Riptide because I enjoyed what I read in Crosscurrent. And unfortunately, I didn't particularly care for Riptide. It's not a bad book. There's a lot of worse books in Star Wars, but the best I could say is about this book is meh. It's just okay. So, Crosscurrent, if you've read it, I'm going to try to avoid too many deep spoilers, but I'll say that it's got elements of the Old Republic, and it's got stuff with, like Jedi versus Sith. It's got all this stuff with, you know, a bounty hunter hunting people, and it's also got, like, connections to all these other Star Wars projects, and it just had a special charm to it, particularly because of the Old Republic stuff in here. And so I particularly liked Crosscurrent because of all that. And Riptide really doesn't have any of that. Riptide, to me, felt like an add-on story that's like a add-on sequel where they didn't have enough to make it a novel, so they just kind of had to stretch it out, and they kind of released it anyway, and it just didn't particularly work for me. The feeling I have with this is similar to how The Force Unleashed, fantastic novel, fantastic video game. And then you had the second game, which apparently they rushed into production because of the success of the first game, didn't have enough story to go with it, and so it left people dissatisfied. Well, I feel like this book was rushed into production, and it doesn't have enough meat to it. There are a few cool moments, such as Jaden Core training his apprentice, Mar. That was, I thought, really interesting in this book, some of their training sequences. I also liked his communications with Luke that happened at one point in the book. And then some of the moral stuff with the Rakatans in the book. That's as far as I'll go with spoilers there. But other than that stuff, the book just fell flat. I don't know. There's not much in the book that I'm like, it's bad. It just feels like there's not much there. It just feels like it's just another book. And of course, you have some stuff from cloning stuff that happened in the first book that is continued on here, but that story is just not strong enough to be the A story. I think that what he really needed was another Old Republic connection that the first book had to be the A story and continue making the clone stuff the B story. But making the clone stuff the A story just didn't work as well. I know people will be like, well, the Rakatans are Old Republic eras. Yeah, they are, but if you've read the first book, you know what I mean with the connection to it. And I wish that Riptide had a little bit more to it. Also, there was at one point in the book where they start talking about Mother. And I thought, ooh, are they going to tie in Abeloth? Are they going to tie in, that stuff from the Fate of the Jedi, which had just been coming out when this book came out? And I was like, if that's what they're doing, that's a really fascinating idea. So I was all in on that idea. But then this is not the direction that the book goes. It has nothing to do with Abeloth, so don't get your hopes up like I did, because it has nothing to do with that. And so because of that, the book just feels hollow. It feels like it pays stuff off, but not in a particularly satisfying way. It's like, okay, you paid off stuff, but I just don't care. And it's really sad considering how much I loved Crosscurrent. And also I loved Lords of the Sith. And from what little I remember of it, I enjoyed Deceived. So it's sad to see Paul Kemp miss like this, because I know he had fans back when he was writing the EU books. I remember when Lords of the Sith came out, like there were people who I knew were really excited that book came out. And so I'm really sad that Riptide just is my last Star Wars book of his to read, and it leaves such a bitter taste in my mouth. Overall, if I was to rank his books, I would definitely put Lord of the Sith at the top. I would put Crosscurrent number 2. I'd put Deceived number 3, and I'd put Riptide in dead last. I will say that the connections that this book has to the comics, particularly the comics that take place like hundreds of years in the future, with I forgot what the name of the character is, like Cade Skywalker, I think. Cade Skywalker's not in the book, but there's a connection to the One Sith from that comics, if you've read them. And that part, I guess, was kind of cool. That was the connection, but I was like, that's not strong enough to me. So that's my opinion on Riptide. It adds some cool cloning stuff, some cool Rakantan stuff, but it just felt like it was just a stretched out story. It felt like it was not enough for the sequel, and just leaves a bitter taste for these characters in the story in my mouth. But it's not a horrible book by any means. It's not even, I wouldn't say it's a bad book. It's just a mediocre book. And that in some ways is more of a crime to books to be mediocre than it is to be bad. But that's how I felt about Riptide. So if you've read this book, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.